Welcome back to the Illuminated Path. This is episode 36. What are we talking about today?
We have our first guest today. Her name is Jen Harris.
Jen, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Jen Harris is a nutrition coach, stress management coach, and kettlebell coach. She helps create a more balanced approach to being healthy by providing education, support, guidance, accountability, and stress management techniques to elevate your well-being and equip you to make healthier choices. Jen is also a dear friend, and she is played a very big role in my MMA journey. I spent many hours training kickboxing under you.
Yeah.
It was a great time. Jen, how's your week?
My week is good. My week is relatively quiet this week.
That's
My
nice.
daughter's back in school,
Okay.
which is nice. My daughter's back in school. I am doing a little more time at home. I got to the gym a few times this week, which is great because I used to work out at home. I'm starting to go to the gym.
Oh, yeah.
I joined a gym and I was very excited because they have kettlebells.
Oh, I love
Nice.
They have like a whole huge amount of them too, and I don't think anyone uses them
No,
except
no.
me.
Our
No,
gym has
our
kettlebells and I
gym
love
has-
it.
I love it because like so many people won't use the kettlebells, and it's like you can almost always go and get a kettlebell. But I was so excited to find that they actually had them.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
you
it
don't
was
always see
great.
them.
So yeah, other than that, I've just been kind of, I have clients here and there, and it's been a nice week.
Good. Good.
Waiting for spring.
Yeah.
Same.
Oh yeah. We're getting there. We got some warmer weather.
Yeah, it's going to
So-
be like 70 degrees or 80 degrees on like Sunday, Monday. I
Yep.
can't wait. I'm just going to lay outside
I
in
will
the
not
sun.
be inside that day.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah. How about you? How's your week?
Good. Same. Just kind of been really getting back into routine. I feel like last week I was such a disaster from still like the time change of Arizona, like getting used to it. So felt much more on top of it this week.
Yeah.
How about you?
Good. I haven't been making music as much, but I'm learning a lot about trading, and I'm planning to get funded. So I'm gonna work with a firm, and they're gonna put up 50,000, and I'm gonna trade.
Wow.
That's the plan. Yeah,
Exciting.
It's very exciting.
Yeah.
All right, Jen, I would love to start by you just sharing more about who you are and how you work with clients, and kind of what that looks like.
Okay. Yeah, I think to everyone is different,
Yeah.
So I am a wife, I'm a mom. My daughter is 14. So we're coming up on our wedding anniversary in a few weeks of 16 years.
Oh, congrats.
So thanks.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I'm, my parents are still around, so I'm still the daughter, and we live in that sort of sandwich generation where if you have kids and then your parents are around and you're kind of working between the two. And then like being a coach on several levels.
Yeah.
So not just a nutrition coach, not just a stress management coach, also like a fitness coach. I'm teaching some classes here and there. Like I do one class a week. It's a kickboxing strength class in Wallingford. I love it. I love teaching it. And it's something I look forward to every week.
Yeah.
But it's just, yeah, that's kind of who I am. I'm several different people to different people.
Yeah.
Trying to be as transparent as I can in my coaching. Like telling people how I like to coach, how I coach, and then working with them to make it work for their own lifestyle.
Right.
I think seeing your clients the way they come to you and then helping them to grow and expand and learn about themselves as well as, teaching them new things is really important.
Yeah. And, I'll say that what I always appreciated about training with you was that you were able to take anybody, any body shape or size, and offer them a modification so that they could still do that move in a way that worked for where they were at that day.
Yeah. And I think about that stuff all the time because people say, oh, like I want to sometimes people come right to me and they say, I want to lose weight and I want to be smaller. And I'm like, well, why do you need to be small? Do you need to be smaller? Is this like a doctor thing? Is this why you're, or because people can be able to do things in any size, any shape. They just have to decide, like, you can be healthy anywhere.
Right.
And I think that was always the biggest thing, like trying to modify to make it work for you.
Yeah.
Like if you can't do a full sit up, then don't do a full sit up, but try to do like a crunch or try to do something that gets you towards that, working towards that. If you can't do 10 of something, don't do 10 of something, do 5 of something, do 2 of something, do 1 of something. And every little step is going to help you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really about like meeting them where they are.
Yeah. And then helping them.
And that's so important because, if there's definitely like fitness coaches out there and they're just like, okay, like do this move, and people don't have the modification or they don't have the understanding. And that's really discouraging.
Yeah.
To be like, okay, I hired like this fitness coach or something, or I went to this class and they don't understand. And so they get scared and just don't even return.
Yeah.
So,
I always think about like me being, when I was 100 pounds heavier, like I started literally doing a minute and a half of jumping jacks. And I think the thing is, like, for me, the big thing is I love push-ups. Remember, I would always do the shoulder tap push-ups. That was my favorite. But people won't do push-ups on their knees. It's like this weird, like, they just refuse. And I feel like if you're willing to start with the modification, you can have this move that has tremendous benefits.
Yeah.
But there's that mental barrier that people have to get through of like, start with a modification.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you're not good enough.
Right.
Yeah. That's a big thing, is people feel like if they don't do it full out, then they're not actually doing it. And you don't have to compete with the people who have been doing it for a year on their toes and able to bang out 15, 20 push-ups. You can start small. You can start on the wall. You can start on a bench. You can start on an incline that's, easier. You can start on your knees and then you can work up to it. Just don't get stagnant in that. Because I know, like, for me, sometimes I'll go on my knees and I'll do some push-ups and then I'm like, I really could do them on my toes. I just don't really feel like it.
It's the mental game of it all.
It is a mental game.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it is. But fitness is kind of a mental game in general. It's, it's everything. It's emotional. It's all of the kind of facets of your health. It all combines everything.
Yeah, I mean, geez, it makes me feel mentally better.
Yeah.
Doing any form of like a workout or a walk or just any movement.
I mean, we've talked about this, like when we have done really well in our businesses, it was the times we were taking phenomenal care of ourselves. And so that's also why we talk a lot about entrepreneurship and being a business owner, because so much of that journey is about yourself. And like my dad's going through it now, where like he had a business and he kind of went back and did some consulting, and then he
became an
employee again, but he kept the business. And now he's kind of in a situation where he's like, I don't want to keep doing this, because he's done it a couple times and the business has been there. And he's like, I really want to do this. And so I'm kind of like saying to him, like, the journey of being a business owner is about your relationship with time and your relationship with yourself. You have to allocate your time in a way that keeps you as healthy as possible to show up for the business and for other people. And I think that that's such a huge component of it, because if you take an employee mindset into owning a business, you're not going to succeed. It's just going to be this stressful thing.
Right.
Yeah. I definitely see that with me, is like I function better for my clients when I have worked out, when I've eaten well, when I've had a good week, like when I've been able to not carry my stress into meetings or, anything like that. So I find that I need to do my own, and I do consider it self-care.
Yeah.
Fitness for me is self-care. That's my, outlet. So when I don't get enough of that in the week, I'm like, I can't show up as well for them.
Feel it.
Absolutely.
So tell us more about yourself and your story. I know you shared you're a coach in many different aspects. You're a wife. You're a mom. Tell us more about your story.
I started on a completely different path. So one of the episodes you guys talked about was being able to change your destiny, change your path midway through your life. And
Yeah.
I'm 47 years old, so I did not do this forever. Like I didn't even start to do fitness stuff until I was 36, 37. So I was starting from high school into college. I was a theater person. I did a lot of backstage work. I did electrics. I did lighting. I loved being backstage doing shows. Such an amazing community. Everyone is just like behind the actors and the crew, always like kind of together in that scenario.
Yeah.
And I ended up starting to do it professionally. I became a member of the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees through several calls I took. It was the union in New Haven. I got my union card, and when I was young, so I was 99. And after I had apprenticed for a couple years, I remember like my first show on Follow Spot was a Globetrotters show at the New Haven Coliseum. So now I'm dating myself because it's been knocked down for I don't even know how long. But yeah, I did that, and I would we would do it was WWF shows, but now it's WWE.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because it used to be World Wrestling Federation until they got sued
Oh, okay.
by World Wildlife Federation.
Oh, I
It's
didn't
the
know
same,
that.
yeah, and then they changed it to World Wrestling Entertainment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and we used to set up the rings at the Coliseum, and I used to climb up into the truss 60 feet up, and I used to wear pyro suits and sit in there and run
Wow.
follow
Oh my
spots
gosh.
and focus lights. And
Wow.
yeah, it was super cool. And then I went on the road and I toured with some Broadway shows as an electrician, and you learn so much. I was in my 20s. So
Yeah.
you learn so much when you're traveling the country, when you're in a different city every week. I think I've hit 43 states
Wow.
out of the 50. I think I have 8 more that I
Wow.
haven't been to.
Yeah.
And you learn a lot about dealing with your stress.
Yeah.
Because you're away from your family, you're traveling every week, you're living in a suitcase, you're
Right.
eating whatever is
Ugh.
available at the time, you're drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes on your
Yeah.
breaks, and that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's for me, I always felt like, as I'm 5 feet tall, as a small woman, I always had to be on my game. 100%.
Yeah.
Most of the people that I worked with were male. It was kind of a male dominated field. But I always had to be strong, and I always had to be mentally strong to get through some situations, some places. So I learned a lot of my own stress techniques ahead of time. You walk into a theater and all of a sudden half your truck doesn't fit in the theater. Well, what do? Do we cut it? Well, we're not going to freak out about it. We cut it, we make do, and we move on.
Yeah.
Right.
We have to like let that go, that we can't run that or we can't use that this week. And then next week we'll try to use it.
Yeah.
So you learn a lot when you're in that situation. And then once I was kind of done with that, I was done with living in a suitcase, I moved to New York because I was like, well, the ultimate place for theater is New York, right? It's LA and New York. Those are like your main hubs.
Yeah.
And I knew a lot of people in New York. I will tell you that my career was not just due to me, but it was due to the amazing amount of people that I knew that had come through with shows, that were production electricians, that were like knew me, that I worked for, that I went to the shop and built shows for and stuff like that. And they were like, yeah, come into New York. Like, we'll put you to work. And all these amazing people came through, and I was, subbing in on shows like Producers and Little Shop of Horrors. And I did my first show, Sweet Charity, with Christina Applegate.
I don't know who
I know
who that is.
I
or
know
what
that's
that is.
like, I know she hasn't been around for a long time, but like in the 2000s, she was, pretty popular. So she had her own shows. She was married with children. She was the
Oh,
daughter.
yeah. Yep.
That was her huge thing. And then, I just, I was in the city for a while, for like probably close to 10 years, not quite. And I ended up, through all of the shows I was doing and the work I was doing, I ended up meeting my husband, and then, getting married and having a beautiful baby girl.
All
and
this in the city?
All this in the city.
Oh my God. Every time we go to a city, we're like, I couldn't do it.
Like I couldn't
I thought
raise
I
a
would.
family.
I thought I would live in the city for a few years, and every time we go to a city, I'm like, I'm not a city person, and I can't imagine having kids there.
It's for the young.
Yeah.
It is for the young. I mean, going from when I first got there to like staying up until 11 or 12, like going out to the bar, going home, sleeping until 11, watching Law and Order, eating breakfast, and then going to your show. Yeah, that was like easy. That, but then you flip the switch and you start to have you have a family. And then it's like, my husband and I decided that I was going to stay home with the baby because we both couldn't work shows at night.
Yeah.
So that was that was our choice.
Mm-hmm.
And, but raising a child in the city is not easy.
Yeah.
Bumping that stroller up and down the stairs.
I can't imagine.
And
so many people walking.
So many people. Just the subways, the loudness, the smells.
Mm-hmm.
I love New York, but I love it in very small bits.
Yeah.
But we were lucky enough that our apartment is near the parks.
Mm-hmm.
So we were in the 90s, high 90s. So we were right near what they called Dinosaur Park and I think Hippo Park. And it's due to the playground areas are those. So we were really close.
Okay.
And then we met a couple really good kids who we would always go at the same time. And then the moms talk. And then so I came out of there with 3 or 4 really close friends who I still talk to now. Everyone's moved out of the city, but our kids all still talk via social media, and they're on FaceTimes and they still email, and it's nice.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the really cool aspects of social media. I think there's absolutely the toxic side that we all know.
Yeah.
But the ability to stay in touch like that, or something where your kids are now connected, that's really cool.
Yeah. I love that. We have my nieces and nephews are up in upper New York.
Okay.
And my daughter and them are constantly on FaceTimes.
Yeah.
So, and I love that. I love that they can be close and they can talk and they can oh, I'm going to go call her and okay, great.
Yeah.
Send her my love. So that was kind of my first career, was this. And then being a mom for several years at home, about 4 years at home before I even started thinking about doing something else. We bought a house when my daughter was 2 up in Connecticut, and moved in when she was 2.5, almost 3. And then I was 40 pounds heavier than I am now. And I was still I couldn't really run after her. And I was having breathing and arthritis, and my cholesterol was high, and I was just feeling shitty all around.
Yeah.
And I was I have got to do something because this is not comfortable. I'm not happy. And so I found a cardio kickboxing class, at a Health Tracks or something. And I was doing that for a little while. And then a friend of mine had mentioned hitting bags, actually doing MMA classes and stuff like that. And I was oh, that sounds kind of cool. I wonder if I could do that. And then I started doing it as just a person doing it, taking a class. And and the owner from CT Krav was you have great form.
Yeah.
Do you want to learn how to do this? Maybe teach? And that was kind of how it all sort of started to spiral.
Yeah. So how long were you teaching before I met you?
I don't remember when we
roughly
exactly met, but I was at the studio for 8 years total.
Oh wow.
So maybe it was halfway through.
Yeah.
Because I met Kate after
Yeah.
that. I met you first, and we did Krav together at like in Amanda's classes and Jeff's classes and Dennis's classes and stuff like that. We all did that together. And then, and I was still teaching. And then you guys started coming to kickboxing classes together.
Yeah, that was in like 2020.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I took a lot of time off, and then there was a lot to figure out because like when I moved in with Kate, I was now 45 minutes away from the studio, so it was very different. And we kind of had that conversation where I said to her, like, look, you don't have to do this, but this is important enough to me that I need to be there.
Yeah.
And, we did that for 2 years.
Yeah.
Something like that.
About
And
2 years.
she was like, no, I'll do it with you. And we did it, and it was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I was doing boxing on my own prior to that. I used to go at a place after when I worked at my corporate job. And so I already loved boxing, and I just love fitness classes and being active. So I was like, yeah, you love this place. Like, I'll join you. So yeah.
So what was the I'm done moment for you? We always talk about the I'm done moment, where it's like that moment where you really knew you needed to change something, you wanted to do something different, you wanted to go in another direction. Was there like a specific moment you can recall where you knew you wanted to change something about your life?
I think there's several.
Yeah.
That's normal
because I
too.
feel like I had so many different like incarnations of what I ended up doing, like the nutrition coaching. So getting into the nutrition part after the fitness part was like I was never done with fitness, but I was done not feeling like 100%. Like I would get through my classes and I would teach and I loved it. And I was feeling good in my body, but there was still something missing.
Yeah.
Like there was an aspect of it that I was like, wait a minute, I need to stop eating fucking ice cream.
Wait. I don't know if we can give up ice cream.
No, I don't mean give it up, but like I was eating it
a lot.
Like there was still like a lot of shit I was putting in my body that I was like, I feel like my body will function better when I'd hate to use the word clean it up, but like clean it up a little,
Like
a little.
Actually like fueling your body. Yeah.
So I learned, I went back on my certification for nutrition coaching because I was really interested in like exactly how to fuel your body for what you need it to do.
Yeah.
So seeing food completely differently, seeing why I'm eating what I'm eating, why my body's reacting the way it's reacting to things. Like to be completely honest, I love ice cream even to this day. I love sugar. I grew up on sugar.
Yeah.
My parents would fucking buy these Oreos that were like this fucking big as my fucking head. And there's always candy in my parents' house still to this day. Like if I walk in and I'm like looking for something, I know exactly where to go because there's candy. There's always
her mom's always got these jelly beans on the counter, and I'm like, gonna grab some of those. And then she's got every time she has cookies. What did she say last time? Last time she made cookies, we had to like bring them into some place. I think it was your sister's shower.
Yes.
And she gave me the cookies. She goes. She gave them to somebody, and she goes, John can't take them because he'll eat them. Are you kidding me?
She knows you.
She knows.
But the problem is that I would seize up. Like my body would seize up after I had a lot of sugar.
Oh, wow.
So even to this day, like at the day after I have like ice cream, my knees hurt, my elbows hurt, and my hands like stop moving, where they freeze, and then I have to like almost pull them open, and then it goes away. So I found that this was the same thing with alcohol for me.
Yep.
And so I haven't drank in a couple of years because
Same.
I just I decided I was like, alcohol or ice cream. Because I can't do both. Because I'll
pick your battle.
You gotta decide what you're gonna, eat more, what you're gonna miss more. And I was like, I don't want the alcohol. It does exactly the same thing. So I'm also very limited on the amount of sugar that I eat, just because I know what it does.
Yeah.
I don't like to cut it out necessarily. I don't believe in like restriction full out, but for me personally, I just feel like I feel better when I don't have a lot of it in me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like that was the done for going into the nutrition coaching. And then on top of the nutrition coaching, I was like, I really love all the ideas about stress techniques, like stress relief, because I think you need all of it. It all works together. It's like the sphere of all the different things, the stress, the nutrition, the fitness. It's like the trifecta.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, let me see what I can do with that. And so I found I was able to go get my certification in that. And then I actually did another certification in fitness nutrition for people who basically for athletes.
Oh, yeah.
For more on that. So yeah, and I'm actually I'm in the middle of another class.
Oh, cool.
So I feel like I'm an avid learner. I want to be an avid learner. I want to always be
absolutely
making myself more versatile. So I'm actually taking a sleep stress recovery course right now. So it's like an SSR course.
Good.
I mean, there's so much information, but it's so fun to hear, like to look at it and read a chapter and be like, oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
It like makes sense. So yeah, it's really cool. It's really good. I'm done from the theater. I feel like I've never ever been done with the theater. Like
it's a part of you, part of your journey.
It's in my heart. It's in my soul. It will always be there. Just the memories of doing so much of it. I mean, even now, like my husband still works in the theater in New York. He's a house head on Broadway. And so whenever he has an opening night, I go in, we dress up, we go to the opening night. I see people I know. I say hi to people, I'm always backstage. Nothing's like unfamiliar. It's like going home.
Yeah.
So it's really, really nice to be able to still do that. And then, but I was like, I don't want to continue to do theater in Connecticut only because I still want to be home for my daughter at night.
Yeah.
I can't go do concerts at Oakdale. I can't go do shows at the Schubert and get home at 11 o'clock at night. I don't want her to be with a sitter or with my parents or
and that's
whatever
exhausting.
growing up.
Yeah.
So that was my I'm done with I'm done with the theater.
Yeah.
But she loves to see shows, and we do that as a family, and I take her up to the Bushnell to see things, and we try to be involved as much as we can. And now she's going to the high school next year. I'm hoping she's going to want to do some theater. She's very artsy.
Is she rebelling against you yet?
No.
She's
well, I mean, there's always fuck you, mom.
Yeah.
Not fuck you, mom, but like, yes, you can see it.
Yeah.
There's like the face that comes out and the tone. And then you're like,
check that.
What did you just say?
Yeah. I was fresh as a teenager.
Yeah.
I was the worst.
I was the worst.
Yeah. But
my mom's going to listen to this. She knows most of this shit, but now she knows. But like when my daughter's going into 9th grade. When I was 14, I was drinking. I was sneaking out of my room. I was stealing from the liquor cabinet. I was, we were partying in the woods.
Yeah.
I mean, she doesn't do any of that stuff. It's completely different now with social media and with she's upstairs playing Fortnite on her computer with her friends, and they're all yelling at each other.
I'll play Fortnite with her.
I was going to say, you want to play Fortnite with her? Yeah. She has like 1 billion skins. I don't know what this whole thing is that she buys skins all the time. Yeah. So
that's funny.
She's awesome. She just loves that stuff. So, but yeah, it's definitely a different time as a parent. But we always said, my husband was kind of a rebel too growing up. And we always said that if we had a kid, we would know ahead of time, like what they were going to do, like what they're planning, how they were going to sneak out, what they were going to steal, like whatever, but she's nothing like the way we were. Either one of us. And it's kind of refreshing. It's nice. She's a really good kid. She's a really good kid. Yeah. But yeah, she's super sarcastic, like her mom and dad.
Love it.
She's taller than me by 4 inches this point. So I'm
Is your husband tall?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he's almost 6 feet. He's 5'11", but
Okay.
his whole family are over 6 feet. Like
Okay.
uncles, they're all like 6'2". His dad's like 6'2". His other uncle's like 6'4".
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So I'm hoping she'll get a couple more inches.
Yeah. There you
So
go.
it's good. Yeah. So, but those were my kind of, I'm done. But I truly love, I think one of the biggest things in my life is, I love what I do. I love being a nutrition coach. I love the business. I love teaching classes, but like, I love my family. Like I love my daughter. She really does. Like she's a huge bright spot in my life.
I was going to say, I think you've always had a very human approach. Like it's always very much like like we were talking about food, not cutting out ice cream.
Yeah.
Like there's ice cream around. People like ice cream, but it's more about managing that than it is this like you must eat like an Olympic athlete and never have ice cream. It's that balance again. So I deeply appreciate you for that because I know that it's always been a part of your approach and like how you interact with people and being very human.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you're coaching, your clients and stuff, like, people sometimes don't want to work with like a coach because they're going to tell me I can't eat any of my favorite foods ever again. And
there's
it's like,
so many
no.
misconceptions. I'm sure you deal with this all the time where you're dealing with so many of the facets of health. And when people come in, they think, I just had a meeting with a new client yesterday and she was like, are you going to tell me I eat out a lot? Are you going to tell me I can't eat out anymore? And I'm like, no.
Right.
Why would I do that? We're going to be working on like other things too. Like,
Right.
And we just set like very small 5-minute actions to be able to kind of do those and then see how we feel after we get through those. And then we move on to the next thing. And it's never, I feel like it doesn't have to all be like a billion things at once that need to change because then everything falls.
Yeah. I mean,
it's too much. Like you can't change everything at once.
Your subconscious and, discomfort and all that. So absolutely. I mean, you've got to kind of scale it in and phase into it.
Yeah.
So when did you know you wanted to help people?
My father said to me when I was starting out in like my real job, my first real job, like I was, my first job when I was younger, when I was like 16 or 15 or whenever you could actually work back then. I think it was like 16 was like, I was an ice cream scooper. And then I like worked at like this women's clothing store. So I worked in retail, but like when my real ever true job was when I started working for the union in like 95 and I started taking calls and I was like, we would do shows and I was like, I would come home and this person, they were just so like dumb. They could have run it this way and it would have been so much easier. And like, I was, I would complain about something because that's what you do when you're 20 and 21 years old. And he said, you, my dear, will always have a problem with working because you care so much.
Yeah.
And I always said, I always want to do some stuff to help people. Yeah. Like I loved working in the theater, and I felt like part of that job was creating something for people.
Yeah.
So in my own mind, I felt like I was part of a creative process that brought joy into people's lives.
Absolutely.
You go see shows because you want to be entertained. You want to feel good. You go see concerts because you want to be entertained. You want to feel good. You want to listen to their music. You want to feel something from what you're watching.
Yeah.
So it was kind of the same thing. Like when I started teaching classes, I wanted people to enjoy the classes.
Yeah.
I wanted them to have fun and work out.
Yeah.
I wanted them to you knew how I taught classes.
Oh my God. Yeah. It was like I would go to Jen's class and it was like, it wasn't this like boring thing. And I will also say, I really appreciate that you actually like knew what you were talking about because there were times it was like, but it was always fun. It was always like exciting. There were jokes. And while we were still like, we got to have fun and get a great workout. Yeah. And I feel like that is kind of rare because a lot of times you would go to a fitness class and it's very like down to business, do this move. There's no modification, get it done. and your approach is just so different. Like it's lively, it lights up the room, and it's fun to be around. Like,
Well, what is the point of not having a good time when
Right?
you're working out?
exactly.
Yeah.
Like I love making people like laugh and make them feel good while they're feeling good, or
Yeah.
while it's a fucking pain in the ass and
Yeah.
you just want to like get your mind off of it.
Yeah.
So like we're holding a plank for a minute and a half. Well, I'm going to tell you guys a story.
Yeah, but you push people in a really good way. Like it's not like this because like a lot of it is like people are harsh.
It's not like a sergeant, like
Right,
drill
right.
sergeant.
Yeah, no,
you push people in a really good way, and like they have the option to pause on the move, but
Yeah.
they also have a really great way to push through and be there and be present with you. And I will tell you, when Kate and I started going to kickboxing classes, she would ask me, is it going to be Jen or Deb? Are one of them going to be there? And I was like, I don't know. We're going to see what we get tonight, but I hope so.
Yeah.
We always love to be in your class. And when she kind of got to the studio, she was like, I love when it's Jen's class. And I was like, yeah, I know. This is what I've loved about being here.
It's so thank you. I mean, thank you. It means a lot to me because it's what I want to bring to everything. Like I don't necessarily take myself so seriously where I feel like you can't find fun and
Yeah,
enjoyment
yeah.
in it. So it's the same kind of thing with like even my nutrition coaching. Like one of my clients messaged me last night and she said she was making like a veggie lasagna or something like that. And I was like, oh, you better save me a slice. I was like, put that in the freezer for me. I'll see you in 2 weeks. And she was like, oh, you're so funny. And but that's it. That's what it's about. It's about life is too fucking short to not have fun doing the things that you like to do.
Yeah.
And, I have stressed. I have moments where I stress about things. I mean, I'm not just like happy-go-lucky all the time.
Right.
It's not. I definitely have stress, but it's dealing with the stress. It's being able to find like the bright spots, the silver linings in things. And it's not toxic positivity.
Right.
I have bad, shitty days too. We all do. And it's okay to admit those, but it's also finding like the joy in what you're doing. I signed up for my gym membership. Like I was saying earlier, I signed up finally. Like I brought them a credit card and I was like, here, I was like, I don't have to be on trial anymore.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, I already thought that you did that. And I was like, no, I've just been on trial. She's like, but you say hi to everybody. You know everybody.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, I just like to smile. Like I always say hi I walk by and I'm like, good morning. Like hi,
nice.
like but it's all like, I don't want to say old people, but it's like, but I'm talking like they're in their 70s, late 70s, but they're great. They're great. And they're all nice and they're all working out and they're all like having a good time. And I just like to,
I'm sure they appreciate like, the encouragement, and like that's awesome that they're going to the gym at that age. And so
Well, I think too, like just having people that you're connecting with. Like one of the biggest things I've learned as a business owner is so much of your fulfillment in life is the connections that you make. But I think too, for people that age, like we've got a neighbor that definitely sees us walking and comes outside to talk. She's like, oh, I'm going for a walk now too. I'm like, oh, okay, you weren't, but okay.
It's nice though. It's like everybody needs social interaction.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big part of life, and like how you build and create connections with people. Like for you to tell your client, hey, like save me a slice. Like it's a little thing that builds that relationship further and kind of makes like that's the fun accountability piece of like they know they've got someone who's in it with them and keeping them accountable, but also rooting for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So how did kettlebells come into play? Because I know you mentioned kickboxing.
Yeah.
Where did the kettlebells come in?
So partway through I want to say like the journey of the studio. So after I started teaching for a few years, the owner of the studio had asked me to manage the program, the kickboxing program. And I happily did that, like hiring instructors, training instructors, making sure the classes were all like covered on par. he was very busy with all the MMA stuff upstairs, BJJ, stuff like that. So they expanded the studio into that other room, which became a kettlebell room. So he purchased a bunch of kettlebells and some assault bikes and rowers, and it ended up being like a circuit training type room. And then it ended up finally just becoming a kettlebell room. But I started going to kettlebell classes, and I was always just like loved it. I was never like a weight lifter. Like I would use machines at the gym and stuff like that. But like I loved the functional movement of kettlebells, like the ability to have more mobility, like because it is not just a up and down movement. There's so much other stuff that goes along with it. And I kind of fell in love with it. And then I ended up going to get my certification to teach kettlebells.
That's really intense, isn't it? You got to like go somewhere and it's like 14 hours or something crazy.
It was actually mine was online.
Okay.
But and I think it was because it wasn't during COVID. It was before, I got it before COVID. It was like 2017 or something like that, 16, 17, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But I had to record videos.
Oh, wow.
And submit the videos. So I would have to submit a video of teaching all the different exercises. So every week we would work on different exercises. And then I had to submit a video of me teaching how to teach it.
Oh, wow.
Basically recording a video of how to teach, how to explain it to someone.
Yeah.
Including body parts, what you're using, how you're moving, and then actually performing the skill. So you also had to do things like, I know you know what a Turkish getup is. You had to do it with a sneaker on your fist.
Oh, wow.
And the sneaker couldn't fall off.
Okay.
So,
wow.
Like sole down.
This is interesting.
Oh my gosh.
So you had to you have to watch it
really
and
balance
really balance it and stuff. Yeah, it was really, it was kind of intense. And then you also had an exam on every chapter, which was all anatomy based.
Okay.
So you had like sections, it's like several sections per chapter.
Yeah.
So I felt like it was very, very thorough.
Yeah.
And then you had to watch videos on top of that. So, and then there was, of course, case studies on things and just like a lot of the courses online, they always, show you different things. But yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah.
It was really cool. And I felt really good and confident about that. And then once I told them I had gotten certified, they were like, oh, now you can teach.
Yeah. There you go.
So I started teaching it. And then, I love it. I love it. I don't know why. And then I started buying my own, of course, for my house and stuff. But there's something about maybe the balance in the bell, like holding it rather than like a dumb, like when you press a dumbbell, I feel like it's a little, I don't know how to describe it.
I don't either.
It doesn't feel like weighted properly.
Right.
But when you have like a kettlebell and you're holding, you can press it and you just feel more like it's a solid mass.
Yeah. Kettlebells, it was something that I was always kind of curious about. I knew like in MMA, they were very popular. And when we got to the studio and I actually tried them, I mean, same thing. I was in love immediately. And I just love that with kettlebells, it's literally like you're doing movements that help you in your daily life. And so if you're going to do nothing and you're not going to lift, you can take kettlebells and really get a lot of benefit in terms of like going upstairs and carrying groceries. And like, it's just amazing. I think I'm a big believer in kettlebells. Like if people haven't tried them, like you got to try them.
So many more dynamic movements through kettlebells than static movements.
Yeah.
Than you would just like lifting dumbbells. Like you can't necessarily lift kettlebells that way.
Right.
But you can, use them differently. Like I would almost rather like do a tricep overhead extension with a kettlebell in my hand than two dumbbells like in my hand.
I've learned I hate tricep moves with dumbbells.
Yeah.
It's just the worst. Like I want the cables or a kettlebell.
Yeah, cables and the kettlebell. That's pretty much what I use. Yeah, all the time.
I remember you bought your own set of kettlebells and then you started teaching it to me.
Yep.
Before I ever went to like the studio to do classes there, like he was bringing them over and like we were doing them together and he was teaching me all the moves.
Yeah. And I still like to this day watch, I follow like Kettlebell Collective and I follow a couple of other things on Instagram, and I'm always trying to, add something I haven't tried or,
Yeah.
Fix my form a little bit better or just feel like go up in weight for certain things. Like my swings are a lot heavier now than they ever were. Um, just for the mere sake of just doing it more
Yeah.
often. Like I work with them more often. I train more often. And and I love that. Like I use them for deadlifts,
Yep.
and
Yep.
just doing those. And I found that like at the gym where I'm at, they have like these honking ones, like, and I can't even like carry them, but I can deadlift them.
That's
So
great.
I'm like trying to like hoof them over to
Waddle across the
waddle
gym.
with them. But it's good. I mean, it's good. It makes you feel amazing. I love them.
Yeah. I think the cool thing about kettlebells too is we've gone on road trips where it's like, that's the whole gym.
Yeah.
You don't need much else,
Nope.
especially like, yeah, you can like finesse it and find different weights for different moves. But if you really don't have a lot of space, you can grab one kettlebell and do a ton of things with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, kettlebells
And
are great.
cardio too, because you're doing
Oh my God.
swings.
Yeah.
You're feeling that.
That's everything.
You're exhausted. You do
Yeah.
50 swings and you're like, okay.
So how does working with your clients look like if, in terms of figuring out like what they might need for stress management or nutrition, like what's your approach? Kind of where do they start?
So we always have a consultation beforehand because I always do free consultations so people can just call me and say, hey, I don't know if this is right, but this is what I'm looking to do. This is what's going on. Most of them start with like, here's my story.
Yeah.
And I love that because if I can have as much information as possible, I always feel like as much information as possible is always helpful.
Yeah.
And if it's not a right fit and it's not in my scope, I always try to help them find someone who can help them, refer out to someone else. Like, hey, I have this person, they need, this, this, and this. I can't do that. Please talk to them.
Yeah.
So I will always do the consultation first. And then if it looks like I can help them, I will either, depending on where they are, I will travel to them or they can travel to me, wherever they're comfortable. I don't mind driving out. I have clients in, different places in Connecticut, some Wallingford, Guilford, Bramford, and sometimes they come to me, sometimes I go to them. It just depends. I also have virtual clients who are in different states.
Nice.
I had a couple people from California. I had somebody from Omaha. I had somebody from Michigan. I have a couple of people in Florida.
Yeah.
So that's definitely like a possibility to be able to do it virtually too. The first initial meeting is basically a couple hours. It's to go through paperwork. It's to talk about what they're really looking for. If it's, goes with education on portion controls, like better choices, like talking about, mindfulness when you're eating, all kinds of different things like that. And then if they want to hit the stress techniques, like, we can talk about that, but it's not usually like initially right away.
Yep.
A lot of times people want to start with, changing one part first. And then, you try to get the other parts like little by little.
Yeah, like
you start
build on
pulling
it.
them in. Yeah, you start pulling them in. Just because people realize like a lot of times like you're eating due to the stress or you're not eating due to the stress or you're having digestive issues due to the stress or you're having or you're not getting, you don't have the ability to get good food due to the environment you're living in or due to your financial issues or due to your time, your time restraints or due to no time to do certain things or, so there's always other factors. It's never just, I don't eat well.
Yeah.
It's not just about that. It's always about all the other facets that come in that influence it.
Right. And so you're able to like offer guidance depending on like what their restriction is. Like, okay, well, I understand that you are having trouble with time. So like guiding them through like how they can still eat better with less time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Giving them swaps, options for things like is always a huge thing, because a lot of people say, oh, I really like, this process thing or whatever. And I'm like, well, how about you have this, which is slightly a better option
Right.
if you like that crunch, or if you like, this is another option.
Yeah.
This is a better option.
Yeah.
Has less chemicals, has a little less calories, has like less fat in it. Like, let's try to find things that will satisfy you that might not be exactly what you were having, but are giving you similar, I guess like similar like hits, like dopamine hits.
Yeah, like satisfying.
Yeah.
The craving, but in a better way.
Yeah, but in a better way. And I find that I do that for myself too. Like,
Same.
Where it's like, yes, I could, like we've talked about, I could eat ice cream, cookies, chocolate all day long, but it doesn't actually do anything for me.
Right.
It just doesn't move me forward towards any good parts in my life. So I'm going to not do that, but I can find things that will not bother me as much, that will satisfy me. Like I love vanilla yogurt. I love it. It's so stupid how much I love it, but it will actually give me, if I put like peanut butter in it and stuff, it will give me the same thing that like ice cream does.
Oh yeah.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
So
such a good swap.
It's funny. Last night or 2 nights ago, we got these dark chocolate and peanut butter candy bar things with like almonds on top at Costco. And I had started my fast after dinner. And I'm like, I'm breaking it. I'm going to grab a little chocolate bar. And Kate goes, what's the thing that you like? Local benefit, global benefit. And I'm like, don't play that card right now, because she's basically saying, I literally wanted a tattoo of this. Local benefit is like what helps me now. I want the dopamine hit. Global benefit is like, what's my goal, where I should really be maintaining my fast. And she played that card and I broke my fast.
You were like, this time, this is it.
But she made you mindful of what you were doing.
Yes.
You didn't just go and grab it and walk away and like start munching on it thinking, oh, then fuck, I just broke my fast.
Right.
Like you were actually very aware that this was what you decided to do.
Yeah,
and
it
I
was
think
intentional.
it was intentional. And I think that's a big thing. And I'm sure you have a lot of clients that you deal with intention with. And that's huge.
Yeah.
Like if you want that, but be intentional about it.
Right.
Think about that you actually need this or want this.
Yeah. I mean, we did the standard American diet episode, and that conversation of like, am I eating for dopamine? Am I eating because I'm bored? Like I knew fully I was eating for dopamine. I wanted the chocolate and the peanut butter, but I mean, I was intentional and I was okay with that decision. I had, I tracked my calories that day and was content with where I was at.
Yeah.
But and I think that's, part of that balance and that kind of process and relationship with yourself, and like understanding the decisions that you're making, because I think that is a big piece of it that, I know Kate talks about a lot, is like people are on autopilot and they don't realize what they're doing and how much they're eating, or the crap that they're eating.
And then like that option that we had, like there are better ingredients in that. And so it's like, it's not a Reese's peanut butter cup. It's something else with 4 ingredients total. And it gives you exactly the same. I mean, I think it tastes even better, honestly.
I do too. And I think that, not eating so many processed foods, you start to really, you can taste all those preservatives, all the chemicals. It's just, you start to like the closer to real food better.
Yeah.
So when people come to you, what is kind of the transformation that they're looking for?
I mean, it's usually, I think initially when I started doing nutrition coaching, it was a lot of people came to me for weight loss specifically. And I've tried to shift my business model, I guess you would say, to be that I want you to look at it more about choosing a healthier lifestyle.
Yes.
Because I don't necessarily feel like weight loss, it can't be like a quick thing and then last.
Right.
Yeah.
Like weight loss is just a general, like Weight Watchers, like
Right.
Jenny Craig, like what all the other, like weight loss.
Yeah.
But it's about like, as soon as you change what you're doing for weight loss and you stop doing what you're doing, you're going to gain it back
Right.
if you don't learn how to actually eat for your body
Yeah.
and for what you need it for. So like when I try to tell people about like choosing forward moving foods that are going to help you go towards your goals, that are going to help you to achieve your goals, that are going to, and versus the backwards moving foods, which are like, the foods that you just aren't going to put you there, aren't going to do that. And I listened to the podcast, then you said something about good and bad foods and that it like, I think maybe you said there were no good and bad foods. And then you were like, no, there totally are.
It was, I think that's like an argument in the nutrition and holistic community, as like people saying there's no such thing as bad foods. And
I think I said that I didn't really call it bad food because it's not really food. It's more like so ultra processed that like I can't really consider it like a true food. It's like, no, this is an ultra processed thing versus like real whole food, or like a processed thing that actually has ingredients that you know what is in it. You can read and understand what the ingredients are.
Yes.
So what's your take? Are there good and bad foods?
No, I mean, I think like that there are good and bad foods. Like I think that there are some foods that exactly aren't foods. They're so just chemicals put together to
just like
make something.
Concoction.
Like a concoction. Like my dad. So my dad's a chemist.
Okay.
My dad was a chemistry professor at Southern for his whole career. And so when I talk to him about nutrition and body, he's always sending me articles, constantly about nutrition and food and studies and, different things and stuff like that. And he could tell you could ask him like, what's the chemical makeup in this? And he reads me labels and he knows how to pronounce all of the words, which I don't even know. But I'm like, he's like, this is all chemical.
Right.
There's not one real thing in here.
Right.
This is all chemically derived.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I definitely think like putting foods in that like forward and backwards.
I really like that.
Foods.
Yeah.
Like I like seeing it that way because I do, and I have clients who have said to me, I chose forward moving foods today. And I love that.
That
feels good.
I feel so good because then I'm like, oh, they're listening and they're doing what they should be doing. And they're like hearing it through their bodies or feeling good. So, ultimately, like what people come to me for doesn't always end up being what they leave with. Like, I think sometimes they leave with more.
Yeah.
They leave for a whole new appreciation of what food does for them and how it makes them feel. I have a client who said to me, she goes, I have Jenisms that always come into my head when I'm about to eat something.
I love it.
And I'm like, that's the best.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Like I hear your voice in my head telling me things. So I kind of love that. And it's nice to know when people feel good, whether there's true weight loss, whether they shrunk inches, not the scale, because I don't necessarily go by only the scale. You can't.
No.
Because it's just data. It's not, it doesn't mean anything.
Our scale's like random.
Yeah.
Random days, it's like 5 pounds more. And it's like, you can step off our scale and back on it. It's supposed to be a smart scale and it'll be totally different. Totally different.
Most scales, that's like what happens. You go pee, it's 2 pounds later.
Yeah.
Great.
It's definitely not 2 pounds.
Yeah.
But okay, scale.
Yeah, sure.
So it's nice I take pictures, I do measurements, I do the scales, and then like we kind of compare and contrast month to month and stuff like that. But they usually end up feeling like, in general, feeling better.
Yeah.
And we do talk about sleep and stress. And so like there's a lot of techniques they learn throughout the time with me. I usually do like 3-month packages, but like sometimes it's only a month that they decide they, I let people out if they're not comfortable.
Right.
I'm not going to be like, no, you have to work with me for 3 months.
But at that
How
point,
do you do
like
that?
they're not for you.
Yeah, they're not for you. And that's the thing is that I've also learned that I have to be transparent because there are people that aren't for me,
Yeah.
that don't like the way that I deal with people, that don't like tough love, that don't like the way that I coach.
Yeah.
Personalities don't always mesh.
Yeah.
That's the way of the world. So
Right.
there's so many different ones. And people have to want to do this. They have to be willing and able to try things to see what works for them, because it's never going to be a straight line.
Yeah. And it's also just that level of commitment. I know that's something Kate's seen in her coaching is there's kind of those different levels of people who are like really serious about it and they're willing to invest and make those changes. But then there's also the people who are kind of like gonna pay for it and just want to throw their hands in the air and be like, it's not working, and
It's like, well, did you do
they're
anything
doomed
that I
before
told
they
you?
start because
Right.
their mindset's awful. So yeah. So it sounds like people come to you often for weight loss, but usually the transformation is more their relationship with food.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just
And
like
then-
health overall.
Yeah.
And health overall.
And because you incorporate the stress and sleep. And
Yeah.
I think that's huge because you're really taking this holistic approach where it's not just food and it's your self-care, your relationship with yourself as a whole.
Yeah. And like that's also like body image too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like I said it before, is you don't have to be skinny to be strong or skinny to be healthy. Like
Right.
you can be any size and be healthy, and it's about appreciating the things your body can do, appreciating, your body for what it is. If you're a mom who's had 3 kids and, been a yo-yo dieter your whole life and some other things, like, no, you're probably not going to weigh 120 pounds like you did in high school.
Right.
And there's
Right.
no reason why you should feel like you have to
Yeah.
either. You earned what you have.
Yeah.
Like you've carried children.
Yeah.
There's things you've done. You have a life. You're busy. You have to appreciate what you can do now.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
So yeah, that's like a big thing too, is I fight with my own, I think everybody's got a little body dysmorphia.
Oh, yeah.
But I fight with my own thing. Like I'm 5 feet. So when I gain weight, I feel it immediately. And when I don't, when I like am where I am and my husband always, kind of yells at me and he's always like, just stop. Because like you had a baby, you're like up and, you've had surgeries that have put you where you can't work out for 4 months. You've had other
Yeah.
things like you're good.
Yeah.
Like don't, and I'm like, yeah, no, I do. I'm like, I'm good. You're right.
Yeah.
I'm good.
I think so much of it is kind of like people, we end up shaming ourselves. We get into that conversation of like, I should be this, I should be that. And then, we have the chocolate bar and we get consumed in the guilt. And it's just this vicious cycle that it's so much about your relationship with yourself and being able to like, like I said earlier, like be human and give yourself that opportunity.
Well, and it's also the identity, like we talk about that a lot
Yep.
too. And
Yep.
and like the identity of being a healthy person versus like, I just want to see a certain number on a scale.
Yeah.
Like, no, if you're building a new identity of like, I want to feel strong, I want to like feel fueled, that's everything.
So, sorry. 3 of your biggest tips for people getting started in nutrition or fitness or stress management. What are 3 great tips you can share?
For clients, like for people looking
Anybody-
to get in, to
Yeah.
get into this.
Just kind of starting.
So this is huge, is don't wait till Monday. Don't
Yes.
wait till next
Mm,
month.
I love
Don't
that.
wait till the end of the summer. Don't wait for the perfect time. There will never fucking be a perfect time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Start.
Just start.
Absolutely.
Because even if it's just like, oh, I got to go to the gym, I can only go once, then you fucking go once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you go for a walk, or
Yeah.
you go for a hike, or like while your daughter's playing lacrosse or something, you go walk the track, or, you go walk the parking lot. I mean, I can't tell you how many times while my daughter was playing soccer, I would just walk the fields, just walk the fields, walk the parking lots back and forth, like listening to something, whatever. I didn't care. Who the fuck cares? We're all trying to do our best.
Yeah.
Right.
It's got to start somewhere, even if it's not perfect. Like, I have 4 scheduled workouts every week now, and now I can jump in. It's like, no, do what you can with the time you have and just start.
And making small changes in what you eat throughout the day. It doesn't have to be changing every single fucking meal all the time, every single day. If one night you end up going out for pizza, you go out for pizza. Like if you can't cook at home 5 nights a week, then you don't cook at home 5 nights a week, but you have to start somewhere, and you have to ask for help if you don't know where to start.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. Most people, like you hit it on the head earlier when you said most people think what I do is full of restriction. It's full of like rules and regulations and like all that stuff. And it's not about that. Like I create my coaching plan. I have a general outline of what I like to include, but I'll make it any way you need it to be made, and we'll shift it any way we need it to shift it to make it work for your lifestyle.
Right.
Yeah.
As long as you're progressing.
Yeah.
Like, if it's slower progress than someone else who has a little bit more of a, better starting point, that's okay.
Yeah. So that's like one thing, definitely. Like, don't wait. Just make a call. Even if you're on the fence about it, maybe you think, oh, this is too expensive. This is going to take too much time. I'm not going to get along with it. Like, you don't know until you call.
Yeah.
Stop what ifing.
Yeah.
It's like stop shoulding.
It's like my favorite thing.
Stop what ifing and just fucking make the call. So call me, call Kate, call whoever's it resonates with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Call that person and just touch base with them. Because all you need is even 5 minutes to find out if you feel like you get along with someone.
Right.
So that's definitely one thing. Another thing is, I guess like balance in what you choose to eat and things like that. So like, again, I don't like restricting necessarily. If you like to have ice cream, then maybe no, we don't do it every single night.
Right.
But you choose a night to have it, and maybe it gets easier and then it ends up being every 2 weeks, and then it gets easier and it ends up being once every 3 weeks.
Right.
And then like that's where it stays, and that's fine if that's where it stays. But like if you restrict food groups, if you restrict everything, you're going to binge, you're going to overeat, you're going to undereat. There's going to be, problems with your body likes to have nutrients in it. It needs to have nutrients in it. So like trying to balance it with the better ones, the main macronutrients, higher proteins, more vegetables, whole grains, fruits, things like that. It's important.
Yeah.
Do that. And then probably like finding exercise you love.
Yeah.
Oh, we've talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
like
huge.
It's huge. Like if you just like to walk, like, have you heard about this thing where people have been saying that walking is not exercise?
Oh man.
And I'm like, who the fuck are you
Yeah.
to say walking is not exercise? That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So if you like to walk, go outside, walk. If you like to hike, that's exercise. Go hike. If you like to swim, if you like to bike ride. If you like boxing, go find a boxing gym. If you like to go and do, whatever, swing, bungee fitness, if that's something you are cool about and want to do, there are places you can find
There's
that.
everything.
Right. Yeah. It may not be close to you, but there are also like a lot of virtual classes. If you love Beachbody workouts, if you love any of those like workouts, like somebody was telling me the other day how they were loving like a walking video they did because of the way she talked. She was just fun and like You
Yeah.
know, I mean, I know my sister-in-law loves Peloton and she has instructors that she really, really loves that inspire her. And
Yeah.
she's always like, oh my God, I love this, you know, this instructor. And I think it's great.
Yeah.
Because you need the people that inspire you, just like you said, like
Yeah.
going to the classes, the people that teach them that you like.
Right. You
You
gotta
know?
you gotta find that, who resonates with you. And I think that's huge. Like you, not to say you should, but everybody should be moving, should be exercising in
Yeah.
some way. And
We're not meant to sit.
It's in our
No.
biology to move. Yeah.
yeah. And so, finding that, and I think that's bullshit. Walking is definitely exercising, but
We've been walking 45 minutes a
we've
day
been
and
doing
it feels
45 minutes. It's
amazing.
amazing.
Yeah.
Huge change. Our digestion is way better.
Yeah.
And like the thing too about walking is there's a lot of research now, a growing amount of research about longevity and
Mm.
especially like your pace of walking. So like it's literally one of the easiest forms of exercise you can get and one of the most amazing things you can do for your health.
Yeah.
So like we've been walking 45 minutes a day, and I mean it helps so much. It helps digestion, it helps, you're getting exercise, you're getting steps in. It helps your heart. It also helps creativity. Like I always share, like years and years ago we used to have gardens and people would go walk in the gardens, and that was a thing, and that was how you thought and processed. And like it's huge and it's so easy. So
If
good
you
for you.
can walk 5 minutes and then the next week you can walk 10 and then the next week you can walk 15. I mean,
Yeah.
I've had people who have said to me, I can only do a mile, but I'm doing it every day. And I'm like, that's fine. It's
Yeah.
great. And then they've come to me like 2 weeks later and they said, I did a mile and a half.
That's so awesome.
And then the next, like 2 weeks later, they're like, I did 2 miles. So I have clients who they just, they keep increasing it. And then like the other day, I got a text message and she was like, I did 2.5 miles, and this was
Wow.
from
Great.
someone who was only able to start with 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And I'm like, that's awesome. It's
Yeah.
amazing. So
I love it. Well, Jen, thank you so much for being here.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you so much. How can people find you? Your website?
yes. So JenHarrisNutritionCoach.com. So pretty easy. It's like the whole name. Jen 1N. You can call. My phone number is always attached to all the things on social media. So it's also you can write a little contact. I have a little contact section on the website. So you can email me. You can get me also on Facebook under Nutrition Coaching with Jen. And you can like my page and then you can follow along for things. I do like some deals and discounts and stuff, but I'm always posting pretty regularly, almost every day. On Instagram, it's Jen Harris Nutrition Coach. So it's pretty easy to find me under any of those things. And you can look me up on Google and Yelp, and I'm all over.
Great. Go find Jen. And Jen, thank you so much for being here. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.